Okay, let's do a deep dive into interest targeting and behavioral targeting. Something I get asked very often is interest targeting and behavioral targeting 100% accurate? The answer is no, it's not 100% accurate, but it really doesn't matter because it's sufficiently accurate to reach your target audience on Facebook, to scale a campaign, and to build an initial seed audience that you can turn into a lookalike audience. There's actually not much that can go wrong with interest targeting and behavioral targeting. The only thing you have to be careful with is going after buyer keywords. What does that mean? Let's say you want to sell a golf bat on Facebook. And, well, something you could do is logging into your Facebook Ads Manager and then typing in Tiger Woods into the interest targeting box. Tiger Woods is one of the most famous and best golf players. So actually it makes total sense, but I'm not sure if you follow Tiger Woods. Problem with him is that let's put it that way, he has more than one girlfriend. And there are many people who are not really interested in his career as a golfer, but they're interested more in his private life. So you always have to ask yourself, if you're going after buyer keywords, am I really reaching, who's the audience behind that keyword? Am I really reaching the people I want to reach, like golf players? Or am I reaching people that are more interested in celebrity gossip? To give you another example, Dustin Johnson is also pretty famous. Brilliant golf player as well, but people who follow him because they're interested in golf, so that's a better keyword, right? So long story short, interest targeting is great, it's fantastic, just be a little bit careful. Always ask yourself, who's the audience behind that keyword? Am I dealing here with buyer keywords? Am I reaching a relevant audience? Or am I reaching people that are not really interested in the product or service that I'm trying to sell, right? Always remember the Tiger Woods and the golf bat example. Now, what are the 4 use cases for interest targeting? Number 1, use interest targeting if you have no data yet, if you're just starting out. Already covered that. So in order to build an initial seed audience, just deploy an interest targeting campaign. You can combine that with behavioral targeting, whatever makes sense for you. Interest targeting is a way of scaling campaigns. That's something we'll cover later, but I just want to touch base on it very briefly. Let's say you're working with a 10% lookalike audience. That's a huge audience, but the problem is there are still 90% that remain untouched, and you're limiting yourself to 10%. So even though a lookalike audience is dynamic and will change if it's not based on a static seed audience like an email list, there's still a massive audience that remains untouched. So interest targeting is a way to scale a campaign even further beyond a 10% lookalike. Number 3, new market and audience segments. Let me give you an example here. Let's say you have a lead gen training and you're selling it to lawyers. Why? Because your initial seed audience is composed of 3,000 lawyers, and your lookalike audience therefore contains lawyers mostly as well. And then you discover that, hey, dentists are also interested in that lead gen training. Here's the problem. You will never reach dentists with your existing lookalike audience because, again, the seed audience is composed of lawyers. You would have to use interest marketing to create a new audience that is composed of dentists, and then you can turn that into a lookalike audience. And number 4, interest targeting and behavioral targeting is great to exclude audiences to increase your audience relevance. Let me give you an example here. Let's say you are a Lamborghini retailer and you deployed a retargeting campaign to go after all website visitors. Here's the problem. Not everyone who is your website visitor can actually afford a Lamborghini. So you can use interest targeting and behavioral targeting to narrow down your audience, for example, by excluding everyone who drives a Volkswagen or who's earning less than $5,000 a month. Just be careful because interest targeting and behavioral targeting can narrow down your audience a bit too much. We'll talk about that later, but generally speaking, you really want to go after larger audiences with at least 1 million people in it. And with interest targeting and behavioral targeting, you can limit or you can narrow down your audience to, let's see, like 20, 30, 40,000 people very easily. And you're essentially risking to run into all sorts of issues like delivery issues, rising CPCs, rising CPMs. So be extremely careful. You can use interest targeting and behavioral targeting to go after a more specific, after a narrower audience, but don't size down your Facebook audience too much.